Sleep 20 minutes.
MashaAllah, the Shaykh says we have still 20 minutes and we know exactly when we will sight the Hilal. So, MashaAllah, as by the inches, the food is going to come just now. First we see the moon and then inshallah you can go for honeymoon.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Alladhi ja'alahu sirajan muniran wa min nurihi mustaniran wa ala alihi wa ashabihi أجمعين الذي جعلهم نجوما ولشياطين الإنس والجن رجوما وبعد. This is usually what we do normally during days when, tonight we call it Laylatul Ru'ya on the 29th of the month. Traditionally the madrasa students would go out with the falak teacher, which I'm in the place of a falak ustad here. So normally after our Maghrib we would go out en masse in Jama'ah like this, and we will be looking at the western horizon. So it is important that you need to know, of course, where the western horizon is, the Ufuq Gharbi. This is the western horizon, obviously, because this is where the sun has set, and that is the eastern horizon there, which is, as you can see, mashallah, is the exact opposite of your Qibla. And it's important that you need to know these things, because these are the examples when, for example, if people make testimony of citing Shahada, obviously we respect people's Shahada, but if it is wrong, it has to be rejected. There is a poem which says, in fiqh, La Buddha lil imami qata'a ru'yati an yatahafaza li raf'i tuhmati. It is essential for the authority, for the qadi, for the courts to ascertain the citing properly in order to prevent from any acrimony, any fitnas, any accusations saying that they really didn't cite. الضابط الأول نظر من نطق لا تنسى بعده تبع ما وفاق. The first rule is to see who is the one has given the testimony. Maybe it might be someone who's 80 years old, or maybe someone who's never seen the moon, someone who does not know how to see the moon. Because in our countries we know that it's an art. It's not easy to cite, especially tonight with the first new moon, inshallah. And the second rule is not to forget that to check what he or she cited is according to the scientific data. If he or she cited it after moonset, you cannot accept that citing. If they cited it before Maghrib, obviously, according to our rules of fiqh, that cannot be accepted as well. And so these are, among the rules of citing the moon. The sunnah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when it comes to citing is that usually, he would stand in the middle here, in the front of the saff. And obviously it's good, all of you are, taking the place of me citing. So please make sure when you cite, let me know. But usually, once the moon is cited, then how he would say the dua is that he would then go, he would then face all of you. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would turn against the moon and then say the dua in front of this jama'ah, in front of his congregation. So, that is at least through isnad how our teachers taught us, and so that's why it's traditional really for the ustad of falak and fiqh here to just be in this position, really. Now, in the northern hemisphere, and in this case, the moon the sun which set earlier at 9:11, the moon would be following behind the sun, so you would be expecting the moon to be on the left of the sun. So sometime today. And it's still difficult to see the moon. Obviously, it will be difficult until we still have 15 more minutes really, because you see this the ahmar, the shafaq ahmar here is caused by the glare of the sun, and that's the main reason why it will be difficult to see the horns of the hilal until the sun goes -1 degrees. The sun goes beyond the horizon properly. Once the rays disappear, then you can start seeing.
Today is 24 hours, and the record of sighting the hilal when it is easily visible is from 16, 17, 18. So inshallah, as the sun is going lower, it's a very thin hilal, is the 29th, and very shortly we will be able to sight it, inshallah.
I have a simple question, which maybe you can explain to everybody. There are times when, in the UK, for example, conjunction hasn't happened. So it's clearly validated. It will not be possible to sight the moon in the UK. However, if we look at the country 15 hours to our east, India, Pakistan, and so on, they may be possible to sight the moon.
The next day. Or with the next day.
So,
if conjunction hasn't
let
happened,
me finish the question so you can clarify. So, if the moon is not on the horizon in the UK, but by miracles of mobile telecommunications we get a sighting in India or in Malaysia, somewhere to the Japan even, what should the UK do? Go to local sighting or accept the sighting in Japan? Because again, if the moon exists in Japan, it will eventually exist in the UK. So can you explain to the people this scenario?
This is in fact very important rule.
Yes.
In fact, so important that especially in countries like the United Kingdom where the latitude is quite high, or South Africa where the latitude can be too low, for example, that they will eventually have to rely on at least, if not half of the time of the year, or 4 months or 3 months during the year when, for example, if we are in the UK and the moon is in fact in the southern hemisphere, one has to eventually rely on an easterly sighting. This is very clear in our Shara, and the rule, as I quoted earlier by Imam Suki, who coined the dhabit, which is mata, whenever hasalat رؤيته في البلد الشرقية, whenever a positive sighting, it has to be positive, it has to be confirmed, it has to be 1 million people seeing, not just 2 or 3, it has to be indubitable, it has to be clear that science says this can be sighted. So whenever a positive sighting has been achieved to your east, such as for example during the time of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after during the time of Muawiyah and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, in the famous hadith of Qurayb. Alright, Qurayb, who came from the west, from Damascus, who went to see Ibn Abbas in Medina. And in Damascus there was during that time Muawiyah. And some say this was during the Khilafah of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And they started a day earlier. This is in Damascus. Whereas Medina still haven't started fasting because they couldn't sight the moon. So Medina was to the east of Damascus, and in that case, when Qurayb saw Ibn Abbas, and he said, "Well, awalina tafi bi ru'yati Muawiyah wa siyamihi. It's not enough that we just follow to the west of us, meaning he's the Khalifa even, Muawiyah. Isn't his sighting not sufficient for us?" And this is Ibn Abbas' famous reply. This is in Sahih Muslim. La. قال ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما لا, no, هكذا أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is very clear. So for that reason, whether you are in the Shafi'i school or in the Hanafi school, in the Maliki school, in the Hanbali school, we all agree that depending on the different regions of the world, you can have different sightings, of course. But what is clear from this is that, from this hadith in particular, this is the dalil naqli, this is the scriptural evidence used by the fuqaha, like Imam Subki and Imam Nawawi, for example, who says that easterly sighting will be accepted because if you can sight it in the east, لازمت رؤيته في البلد غربية ولا عكس, not the other way around. So otherwise Ibn Abbas will have to follow the sighting of Muawiyah in Damascus, which he was in the east. No. And this hadith, mashallah, the karama of this hadith is precisely, wow, Ibn Qurayb came from the west, went to the east. And that the authority, the religious authority in the east says, we cannot follow the west. But then the west can follow the east. So for that we have what we call a legal fiqh, nazam, manzumat. In school, madrasa, you learn manzuma by Kuniya or alfiya. Madrasa students learn from fiqh through poems so they can remember. And there's a very easy poem, inshallah, for those imams and ulama here to remember. Inshallah, and may this be of benefit. يجتمع الصدر وإن تختلفا مطالع البدور فاحفظوه. The heart of the ummah, that's the meaning. يجتمع الصدر, can still be united. وإن تختلفا, despite, even when there are different